supports the physical and mental well-being of every patient she sees. If you would welcome, please, Dr. Christiana Shustari Corbin.
Woo! Cheers, everybody. Thank you, Libby. You said my name really well.
Thank you. Someone gave me pronunciation.
Thank you, yeah. So I brought my supplies, a drink, and a tissue. So thank you for having me, Vicki, and everybody being here. This is incredible. I know we've been, singing her praises and everybody who put this together, but can we do another round of applause, because this is an incredible event, and everybody. So when I get nervous, because I am, because I've never talked publicly about my cancer journey, so forgive me if I sound nervous, because I am. That's what this is for. I'm aiming for 10, but sometimes I'll talk too much like I am right now. So I didn't realize everyone was giving their cancer background. So I'm a physician, but I am now 4 years out of my diagnosis, stage 2. And I'm gonna tell you my story a little bit, but I thought I could reframe it a little bit and think about, when I think about my cancer journey, I think about the gifts of cancer. So I actually thought that I would speak to that. I know it sounds a little weird, but I have learned a few things, and I feel like many can relate to that too. So here goes. And I'm short, so I don't know if y'all can see me back here. Can you? Yeah? Okay, all right. So my first gift of cancer was I learned the power of forgiveness. So the first bout of cancer in my family is actually my mother. She was diagnosed with breast cancer 10 years prior than I was. And it was a big blow. I was in my 20s at the time, so just thinking about not having my mother in my life yet. I hadn't figured out what I wanted to do with my life, and hadn't gotten married, hadn't had kids. So the blow to that diagnosis, as I think many of us can relate to, is kind of that unknown. But the forgiveness came. I had a best friend growing up, and she's still my best friend, but our mothers are like aunts to us. We grew up together, spent many summers with her. So when she was diagnosed, my best friend in the whole wide world, you all know Sandra, she didn't actually reach out. And it was a heartbreak for me. And I think many of us kind of experience that in our journey sometimes. And I think in any bad situation, you feel like some people are going to show up and some don't. And it was really hard to not have her at that moment. It felt like weeks. I'm sure it was just a few days. But she called me finally and said that it was really difficult for her. She couldn't find the words. And it was the first time I heard her cry since I've known her as a child. And it made me reflect on that, it's not just the people who are diagnosed that get impacted, it's everybody around. And it taught me the power of forgiveness. Although I was angry at her for not being there, I realized it impacts everybody that loves that person as well. And I'm glad I forgave her. We talked it through, because she was the one that actually flew across the country and helped me break the news to my parents that I had cancer. So she definitely made up for it. So cancer, I have many examples, but forgiveness. And then trusting my instincts. So fast forward 10 years later, this is actually the year of 2020. Do we remember does anything pop out of that year? So we all know where we were when it happened, or heard about it. So I was still in training, I was a resident. I was in the ICU actually overnight, so I was a senior. So that's my COVID experience. But also, I was supposed to get married that year to their fabulous son, Chase, who, has been my soulmate. Kind of knew that from the beginning, but it took him 8 years to figure out that I was also his soulmate. So that was the year we finally were gonna get married. COVID made us cancel our wedding once and then again. So we ended up doing an intimate, really beautiful, special ceremony, actually here at Smith Mountain Lake in their backyard. So it was incredibly touching and it was beautiful. everyone quarantined and we had our immediate family, but it was incredible. 6 weeks later, I was in bed, I was stretching, I felt some ping in my breast, and I instinctively felt it, and kind of was wondering like what that was. And it kind of gnawed at me, like I had a little voice in the back of my head being like, I just didn't feel right. So I'm 38 years old. So 2 weeks later, just my husband and I being physicians, we kind of were like, we should just look into this. So I got a mammogram. That was a Thursday, I believe. And it was July 30th. And it was so bad that they gave me an ultrasound and a biopsy the very same day. They just asked me to stay over for a few hours. So Chase and I looked at the ultrasound. We kind of have an idea what's going on. Is anybody a fan of Stranger Things by any chance? That thing? That's what it looked like. So we knew, and it was 3 centimeters large. So we called a couple of our COVID pod friends over, party that weekend, because we knew our life was going to change on Monday, and I got the phone call that Monday that it was confirmed cancer. So the second gift of cancer was just trusting myself and my instinct. And I also tell that to my patients too. Like, we know our bodies best, and don't let anyone else think otherwise. You might not always have, a provider really listen to that, but don't give up. As a provider, I know what that's like on the other side too, but just truly listen to yourself. So I like to say, I saved my own life by listening to that voice, actually, because I was going to get a screening in 2 years. So that 3 centimeter deep, I'm pretty well endowed. I'm very lucky. It was by my chest wall, so it was accidental that we found it. Number 3, so connection and letting people in. So as those of us that have been through it or know others, it's a whirlwind after that, right? Like, I barely remember it. Scans, blood draws, unknowns, anxiety, sleepless nights, anger, confusion. The thing that really stood out though is people really showed up actually for us. I grew up in 2 cultures. Both my parents are immigrants, different countries, but they're pretty private, and I don't really remember growing up asking for help. So I never did. But in that moment, we sort of felt like we had to, but it was amazing. People just poured in a lot of love, support, flying in, my in-laws, my parents, our siblings, like gifts. Even at the time, one stands out. I thought I would pick up a hobby, like in between chemo. I don't know what I was thinking, so I wanted to take up knitting, and had a couple people buy me a knit set and then teach me, and it took me like 3 times, and I blamed chemo brain. My cat loves that yarn, a ball of yarn. But it was incredible. It taught me to be open to receiving help, because I think it's very hard for many of us, if not all of us, to really truly accept it, because you have to tell yourself you're worthy of that, right? And that was a big step. And now I ask for it all the time, no shame. 4th gift of cancer was actually communication and vulnerability. So this part was one of the hardest parts of the journey. It was actually looking at dealing with the pain of the diagnosis, of telling people that love you and that are close to you. You kind of carry that burden, actually. So I remember the pain in my parents' eyes, my brother, our friends, my husband's family. But the hardest one is really actually my husband. Because we were newly married. We just started our life together. We had a lot of dreams and hopes and starting a family. And I felt very guilty that I cannot give him that life. And I know I didn't do anything to cause it, but you still carry that. Like, he deserves this certain life, and I don't think I'm going to be able to give that to him, actually. It took a while for me to be able to talk about that with him. And that's the thing that it taught me. I think sometimes we go through things, and if we don't share that vulnerability with people, it can really destroy you, eat you up inside. And it could even destroy relationships, and you don't really have to have needed that to happen. So we slowly would talk about it. And it was about, again, that vulnerability opening up, because I had to basically accept that he said you are enough. We will figure it out, whatever that looks like. So again, to sort of accept that worthiness was a big thing. You know, that outpouring of love, and then this person that is still like ride or die with me. And I don't really know why. So I know my imperfections, but I guess there's some things that really just matter to people, and you are enough, so I kind of want to remind everybody that when they say you are, you are. And on a lighter thing, humor. Cancer taught me humor more, because I'm kind of an anxious person at default. I blame my mother. And humor was a big part of it, and Chase really brought that into our relationship a lot too. And you know, you have to bring humor into these difficult times, because otherwise it's going to eat you up. And this isn't just cancer, this is life, right? I think all of us can think of something very easily. And if you don't bring that in, you get consumed, and you sort of miss the other things in life that are still happening and they're still great. So a couple just things that we would do to make things fun. So, you know, when you have any type of procedure on your body, it no longer feels like yours, especially when it's not a choice. So I was very self-conscious, and, you know, intimacy definitely takes a hit for multiple reasons. I was also in menopause. But my boobs, you know, was like, they betrayed me. And I just like did not feel comfortable being out there to my husband. And so, you know, he would say, no, you're fine, you're perfect the way you are. But then we just actually named them, and it made it really much more fun. So this is my original 40-plus-year-old boob. This is my lumpectomy that got a lift. So we call it droopy and loopy. Another thing we did, so chemo wreaked havoc on my pelvic floor. I kind of had issues beforehand, but it just destroyed it. So in my 30s, I'm having incontinence issues, both holes. Really sucks. Just got married. Don't have kids yet. So I'm actually wearing them right now. I'm wearing Depends. And I'm saying that okay, because I think, especially as a physician, I see a lot of women and men who are very embarrassed by it. And I keep saying, you cannot tell, especially if you wear Spanx. But I was really embarrassed, and I can't believe I'm publicly saying that I'm doing this, but I believe in sharing to empower others and normalize things, because many of us suffer in silence. But we made a joke out of it. So now my family will know this code word, but we call it my sexy pants. So when I pack, he's like, did you bring your sexy pants? Long car rides. That's my family. I need to make that pit stop. Because sexy pants only carry so much. And to make matters even better, I am now bionic. I had to get a nerve stimulator, so I have a battery pack in my butt. So I like to make jokes about it, because I think there's power in humor. You know, I guess I'm middle-aged, but some say like I'm kind of young, some say I'm old. But like to have your body feel like it's already betraying you and aging and doing all these things that you didn't anticipate at this point, like it can't. Don't get me wrong, there are days, weeks, sometimes I'm down and upset. But you gotta get back up, right? Like you kind of have like two choices: either keep going or let it defeat you. But as I even tell my patients, like, and other cancer, anyone affected with cancer or hardships, like allow yourself to have that moment to cry and to be angry and find your safe people. But then you've got to get back up too. And then, I don't get bored. Can I do two more? Maybe? You're stuck. Okay. I'm almost done, I promise. So the last one, sort of, is acceptance and of the things you cannot control. So, body felt like I got, like an alien came, transported me into another body, right? It happens so fast that you don't feel like yourself at all. You don't feel it, you don't see it. So it's very foreign, actually. And you have to kind of accept that this is the new me. And it happened overnight. You know, I was not just the surgeries for myself, I took anti-hormone pills at 38 years old. I was in hot flashes. I gained a ton of weight. I lost half my hair. I have a lot. I'm half Middle Eastern, so I'm hairy. So that was a good thing. But I did lose half of it, and it was like male pattern baldness. And just kind of accepting that is the new body that you have is important. The other part of acceptance we had to go through is, so for the multiple health reasons that I had, so what I didn't mention is we did onco-fertility. And if you don't know what that is, I think things have advanced from now, but I was in Illinois. I was very lucky. Illinois pays for onco-fertility for those like myself who have not had children yet. They pay the $12,000 because who can afford that when you're, who can? Many of us cannot. So they paid for us to do the fertility and preservation. So from diagnosis, 22 days later, I was retrieving. So in those 22 days, I also did hormone therapy, got bloated. It was COVID. I had to do it alone. They wouldn't let my husband inside, but I did sneak a little video camera so you could see like the 20 grapes that ended up blowing up inside of me. But I was like, wow, it's like maybe our future kids. But it sucked, and it was super scary because I'm no spring chicken, and I we haven't had our own children yet. So we were able to do, I was incredibly lucky. We had a few that were actually healthy, genetically tested and frozen, and then I did all my treatment. So I'm wrapping it up, I promise. We decided to do surrogacy, and is anyone here familiar with that process? I see some head nods. So it was weird for some, but our family is very supportive of it. But I have a father who, he's a great businessman, but he doesn't understand science. So we had to constantly tell him, our ingredients, our bread, her oven. And he's like, is it yours? I'm like, our ingredients. Just imagine that, So that's how we kind of explained it to my parents. My mom gets it, my dad did not get it. But they're very supportive, I think, when you don't have a choice, I think it is easier kind of support, but it's, I think for those of us even older, having children, I've been seeing more people exploring that. So we did it once, it was a boy, unfortunately did not take, and on top of it, she got COVID when she got implanted, so COVID kicked us in the ass again. It was devastating. I did take 2 weeks off from work because I didn't realize how much I already had advantage in this life with him, and we had a name, because Chase has had a name in his head since he was a kid of what he wanted, and it felt like a miscarriage. It's weird because you see the 6 cells and it was implanted. I didn't have it in me to try again for a while. And then, one more thing to add about loss of control, right? What the heck? My body's supposed to be built to breastfeed and give birth, and I can't do that. So I had to question, what does a woman mean? And then I had to literally apply in an application to have my own child. So we had to write pages about what it means to be a parent. What kind of parent would you be? What would your spouse or partner be? What do you not like about each other? Because they have to pick you. And humor, right? So Chase read through mine and he's like, babe, did you write that on the plane ride that you were pissed at me? I was like, oh yeah. He's like, you wrote 1 paragraph of what you liked about me, and it's 2 pages of things for me to work on. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm so glad you read this. I was typing away. I remember I was furious. So anyway, we found the most perfect surrogate. She's married. She has 3 kids of her own. She's so selfless. I never imagined trusting a human right off the bat, because you have to give up that control, because it's a choice, and I will worry myself to death about thinking about this fetus and this my child, and what environment is she in, what is she eating, what is she doing, is she safe? I had to give up all that and just completely trust in this stranger who has become our family now. So in conclusion, the last thing I wanted to share is the final gift of cancer. Was my little baby girl, Nia. Some of you might have seen her. it's been a whirlwind. I'm incredibly lucky. And actually, in some weird way, it's like, well, she wouldn't have been born if I didn't go through all that. So she's 7 months old. Hi. She doesn't look like me, so I question it sometimes. But she has my big head, but looks like Chase as well.
The miracle baby.
Yeah, she's a little miracle. Thank you for